I want to share with you the process of how I turned one product into a full-time income. So step one is really listening to your audience. Notice what's working. For me, that meant seeing what's getting noticed. I had an entire Etsy shop full of things, and I started doing these remembrance ornaments. After a couple dozen sold, and I was getting good feedback on them, I started thinking, what if I picked this one product and I really focused on making it as profitable and as effective as possible for what consumers were wanting. So with remembrance ornaments, that meant really meaningful messages that met the needs. Most of them were being given as gifts, so it needed to have messages that were clear, people could find them, and they could give this gift really feeling good about themselves, that they had seen this other person's grief and what they were going through. There's this myth that as an artist, we need to create all these one-of-a-kind items and have all this variety, and I have fallen victim to that. It feeds this creative part of me, but not the practical part of being a business artist. And raising kids and still needing to be profitable, I had to change a few things. And so by narrowing on this one product, my next step was, how can I make this as profitable as possible? So that meant a few things. One, I needed to expand the options that were available for this product. The first step for me was packaging. I decided that I would offer the ornament alone. I would offer it in a basic gift box or a deluxe gift box at different price points. Then I would package it really nicely so that people, depending on the level of impact they wanted to make for the recipient opening it, would feel really good about that person getting it. For the most expensive one, it was a 5x7 gift box where the ornament was nestled in paper shreds with a card explaining that it was handmade, original art. It would have a hand-signed box, and it would be packaged in its own box, wrapped in tissue, really nice, with a card all about the remembrance artwork. So it was a whole experience for the recipient getting this that they would feel really special and really seen. I also offered upsells, things like gift wrapping. They could include a matching card with the ornament, and I would put their message on it. And then lastly, I offered customization. So they could take, for instance, a father's love ornament and add the person who passed name and maybe dates of birth through death, things like that. So it was very customized. And I would upcharge for that customization because I could work on a general father's love ornament in June, July, August, times where my shop was less busy. And so I could have all of these things pre-made. But customized ornaments meant that I was doing them in my busiest time of the season, typically from mid-November through December 20th or so. And so that time became the bottleneck where I was so rushed. And so then I decided to expand slightly the product line. I made a mother's love with a red cardinal, a mother's love with a female cardinal, father's love, a blue jay, butterfly, hummingbird, dragonfly, things like that. The following year, I expanded further and did sister, brother, husband, wife, grandmother, grandfather, grandma, grandpa, son, daughter. Then a step more. So I did a season with the basic upgrades, and it went fantastic. This was around 2018, 2019. Then I started selling some on Amazon where I would ship them myself. I would drop ship them. And I decided to step it up the following year, and I did some with Amazon Prime. And the benefit to this was I could pick my top selling ornaments, and I would ship about 50 to 100 of them. I'd package them. I'd have them all done and ready. And for this, I chose to do the boxed ornaments for the most part, or the unboxed ornaments. And I would have them all ready. I had to do the special barcode and follow all of the retail type requirements. So they were all individually packaged, ready for Amazon to pull and ship. So I had to really refine my process to pull this off and do it successfully. But the benefit of that was come December, those were already in a warehouse. I would have them in the warehouse by about October so that they were off of my plate, and now Amazon could handle them. So that freed me up for doing some of the drop shipping Amazon orders that were not from Prime and then from Etsy and my website. And with the customized orders, those got really busy. So that was really intensive. But by diversifying how I was handling all of these, I was able to do all of it myself. During the evenings, I would tape boxes and I'd have them all ready. I'd have ornaments ready to go where I could print out a sheet of custom images. I would cut them all out and I would spray adhesive them to the front of the wood and let them dry, and then I'd seal them. So within about 2 days, I could be able to ship them. And I kept a notebook there where I'd write every single thing down and where I was at. I'd check it off on the process. That's how that worked for me. And so what I learned from this is then 2020 hit and shipping containers were stuck all over. Things weren't coming in. And so that holiday season almost broke me. But I made so much money that season that it was like a year worth of my income in that 5 weeks time. And I was so grateful. I would end almost every day in tears because I was so physically tired and exhausted. And I would have 60, 70 plus packages going out a day for my mail person to pick up. It was such a gift though. And I'm so grateful for it. And it really taught me this lesson that getting really clear about something and dialing down into really what the customer wants and thinking about it from the customer perspective and what they're looking for, it opened up this whole other way I was looking at my art and how I was offering it. Now, ultimately, I did only a couple more years of the ornaments. The plus side is it's a seasonal thing. The downside is it really burned me out. I should have hired some more work and gave up some of the profits to have other people helping. But it was also really hard to guess which ornament was going to be the algorithm's friend that year. And especially with a seasonal product, you didn't know until it was too late. So what I had sent into Amazon may or may not have been the thing that was selling. One year it was, and then the next year they sat. And I'd suddenly end up replenishing midway with more of a certain ornament, and I'd sell out of, it was a lot for me to try to handle. And I had to give up all of my holiday festivities with my family for those few years because I was too busy. It was a really big deal to take an afternoon in mid-December and go do something fun and festive because I would come home and then work till 2 or 3 in the morning to make up for that. So in the end, for me working alone, it was too much, and I ultimately don't offer them anymore. But there's lessons that can be taken from that can add a lot of success to your shop. So I wanted to share just a few more of the efficiencies of narrowing down to one product. One is the time savings. When you're only photographing one product or different alternatives to the one product, you save so much time. We've all been there where you're individually photographing every single thing and you're having to keep track of all of the different options. It's a space thing, it's a time thing, it's an energy thing. So having one item or a small number of items really saves from that perspective. It also saves the mental energy of figuring out keywords, product descriptions. When you're having to reinvent the wheel for every product, that is a lot of time and energy. Your admin time really plummets when you can get clear about a few items instead of doing tons of individual, completely different things. I still liked having a few things that were one of a kind because that lit my soul up. I like doing that, but I like doing it in a small dose where it was purely for my own self-indulgence to do that instead of chaotic, artistic mess. So if you're looking at ways you can expand your shop or make more money, whether it's on Etsy or on your website, I really encourage you to dig deeper with a product instead of only adding new products. So add value to them. How can you make it a giftable option? How can you add a card in with it, premium package it. So many people are looking on Etsy for gifts. How can you put yourself in that perspective of what they would want to receive? I thought about adding a journal that could go with each ornament, where every Christmas when they unpack that ornament thinking of their dad, they can write their feelings about that year, or they could write almost a letter to the dad of where life is at. And it serves as almost this journal. Now, I never followed through with that. It's a great idea for someone if you want to do that. But there's so many possibilities. So evaluate the upsells, evaluate customizations, and then evaluate other platforms. I have a love-hate with Amazon. I ultimately pulled my stuff off of their platform and really didn't want to support that. I chose to do some wholesale with some small retailers, and that was great in some ways. I've shifted my business since to doing more remote work and digital work, but there are other places you can do and find to sell your things. So once you have a product that works, you don't need new ideas endlessly. You just need to find the audience that fits that product. So expanding different platforms and places, getting in gift guides, getting some buzz or press for your product, finding new galleries, things like that are all ideas that can help you in finding more success without having to endlessly come up with new ideas. Lastly, if you have artwork that you're offering, some other dial down into journals or planners. Use that artwork in a different way. Screensavers that people can connect with. Is there a digital version you can offer? Just explore what you're creating and what you're doing and figure out a different twist on it, or really think through the customer experience. If there is something you can add, think through how the customer finds you, what they're feeling when they find you, what they're ultimately looking for in a product, what their goal is, who's going to receive that product, and explore different ways within those that you can create the best customer experience for them. So that's what worked for me in selling my ornaments. I hope you can take any part of this and turn it into a success for yourself in your art business. If you have anything you'd add to this, let me know. I think we can all learn from each other, and we all have these different paths that we've walked where we have different sets of knowledge, and I would love to hear from you what's worked for you. So thanks for watching. I hope you have a really wonderful day. Bye.